Finally get to see this movie. Now let's talk about it. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. So Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is the 5th movie in the Mission Impossible film series and 5th to star Tom Cruise. And when it gets to the 5th movie in a film series, you're just like, yeah, please stop. But no, not this. I assure you, based on the way I just told you that, I like this movie. Mission Impossible is still going strong. So really the whole premises of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is that the IMF has been shut down by CIA Director Hunley, who's played by Alec Baldwin. He's a total asshat in this movie. And Ethan Hunt has now gone rogue. He's on the hunt. That was dumb. For a terrorist organization group called the Syndicate, the Rogue Nation. Pretty much they're the anti-IMF. They do whatever the IMF does, but they're like bad. Pretty much. That's it. That's how I can explain that. And the thing that I like about this movie is that when it's not so complicated when the plot gets complicated. What I mean by that is when the plot does get a little, like, you know, bigger and there's all these explanations and things that maybe look like they're not going to get explained, it's still easy to follow along with what the basic premise of the movie is. You still know what is going on. It's not over convoluted. I feel like if you're a spy movie, especially a Mission Impossible movie, or even a Bond movie, you have to do that. You have to make the plot complicated, but not too complicated where nobody can follow it. I feel like that happened with the last Bond movie. It's going to happen with the new Bond movie. Definitely happened in this movie. Happened in the last Mission Impossible movie. Because you got to have the spying and the intrigue and the espionage. That stuff, that is what makes these movies interesting. And there's a lot of that. And because this is a PG-13 rated spy movie, means action scenes, and the action scenes in this, hell of a lot of fun and awesome. This is cool, epic, like bike chase slash car. I guess you could make it like a car bike chase. Well, it's a hybrid. It's awesome. That's like 5 minutes of the movie, but like you feel like the thing with the action scenes in this movie, and the same thing with Ghost Protocol as well, it's like you think that the action scenes are over, but then like they pick up like 2 minutes later and you're like, oh, we're still here, that's cool, I want to see this. In my review for this trailer, I pretty much said that this looked like a Fast and Furious movie, but it's really not that. It's more of like an American Bond movie starring Tom Cruise. There's this badass underwater sequence where Tom Cruise's character has to hold his breath underwater for 3 minutes. I swear to God, I was sitting there in the theater, I was holding my breath for 3 minutes with him. It was that cool. That scene was so intense. The movie just shows how intense situations like that can be, and how dumb and idiotic I can be in the movie theater. Seriously, watch that scene. You'll be holding your breath too. I knew going into the movie, it was that Tom Cruise, what is that dude now, like close to 55? Holy shit, he doesn't look it. He looks like he's 25. I knew that he would be really good in the movie. It's almost like Skynet, like, replaced him with a cyborg or something, and we get like a 25-year-old Tom Cruise. That scene where he's hanging outside of the plane, he did that stunt himself, and he's a 53-year-old man. I'm like, give the dude some props. That's how you get it done. The supporting cast is also really good. Ving Rhames comes back, and this is his 5th straight Mission Impossible movie. Only the 4th one, though, where he's involved in the mission. He only came back for a cameo at the end of Ghost Protocol. Jeremy Renner is back in the movie. He was in the last one. Simon Pegg, who was in the last 2, is back in this movie. And you get a new hot chick. It's like it's like the Bond movies. It's a revolving door of hot chicks, and hey, I'm fine with that. If every Mission Impossible movie has a new hot chick, I'm down. However, the scene stealer, Alec Baldwin as the CIA director, that dude, he is such an asshat in this movie that he is more menacing than the villain. And let's talk about the villain of this movie for a minute, because that's probably like my first or second complaint of this movie, and it's one of only 2, I think. The villain in this movie is not menacing whatsoever. The villain in this movie is, I'd never seen the guy before, but he didn't look physically fit. Like, he just didn't look menacing. He didn't really talk menacing, so I feel like that's why I also didn't find him that menacing. I'm like, really? Seriously? Come on. You can do better. And honestly, that whole thing is really revealed in the last act of the movie, and I feel like that's why I don't really like the last act of this movie. I think it's the weakest part of the movie. It's still a really good part of the movie, but I feel like it's the weakest part of the movie. And another thing, the movie, you know, the team isn't really utilized that much in the movie. It's pretty much like a Tom Cruise, like, solo mission. The best way to describe it is by retitling the movie and by saying this. Mission Impossible, the Tom Cruise Experience, starring Simon Pegg, guest starring some random hot chick whose name I cannot think of at the current moment, featuring a villain that isn't very memorable, with cameos by Jeremy Renner and Ving Rhames. Oh, and Alec Baldwin was in this too, just to be an asshat. That's the way that cookie dances. Not really a complaint, but I feel like it's something that's gotta be addressed, and that is, you can't casually watch this movie. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I wanna watch a Mission Impossible movie, put in Mission Impossible 5. No, you can't do that. The plot has layers to it, you have to think about a lot of stuff, but like I said, you have to think about it without overthinking stuff, so that's good at least. The verdict is that Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is one of the best movies of the year, if not the best. I could think of maybe one movie that's better than this, and that's Kingsman: The Secret Service. I heard Ex Machina is really good. I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet. I will, and I will review it, I promise. I know I haven't reviewed Ant-Man, and I promised to review that, but I ran out of time, okay? But I'll review Ex Machina and tell you how that is. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year. I think the best movie of the summer so far. There's layers to this movie that you don't expect. The plot is complicated, but not too complicated where it gets convoluted. You can still follow it, which is a very good thing. The action scenes are cool. The cast is really good. But like I said, I had a couple nitpicks with it. You know, maybe just me nitpicking at them, and that is, you know, the team's just not utilized very well, and the villain's not very memorable. However, didn't take away my fact from liking this movie whatsoever. Still a really good movie, and usually the 5th movie in a franchise sucks. This one proves Mission Impossible is still going strong. It gets 9 motorcycle chases with damsels in distress out of 10. Alright, so what's your favorite Mission Impossible movie? For me, I think the 4th one, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I think that one has this one beaten by a tad. But I would say, for me, it would probably go the 4th one, the 5th one, the 1st one, the 3rd one, and then if you want to count the 2nd one, sure, but I don't think anybody does. And for more news and reviews on movies, movie trailers, video games, and TV shows, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and if you're on YouTube, hit the big red subscribe button, and welcome to Maddenville.